Rockstar Gang, I'm back. Appreciate you guys. Sorry about that. I wanted to create a separate live stream to break down this game because I was not going to have time to break down this game tomorrow night, and then you would have had to wait till Monday night to break the game. But I don't want to wait till Monday. I want to go ahead and break it down now. I want to do it now. I want to break it down now. I know I seem like I'm in a good mood since even though after this loss, ladies and gentlemen, but you know, it is what it is, man. Again, we weren't supposed to be here. We don't belong here. We don't, everybody knows we don't belong here. We're not supposed to be here. We weren't supposed to be in this position in the first place. Y'all are going to get blown out to 40-17. Y'all are going to get blown out 40-17. What are you talking about? Right? You know, Jimmy Horn Jr. Do we say that he blew out our fucking? Did we say that he blew it for us? No, we're not gonna go that far, man. We're not gonna go that far. We're not gonna go that far. You know what I mean? It was an awesome football game. And it proved that we belong, man, because no one believed in us. Chat. What's up, Matt? Appreciate you, Marcos. What's good? Well, EJ and our defense did it again. Is that what you're going to blame it on? How the hell can anybody be mad? Exactly. Man, because I think our defense played their asses off. I mean, SC Panthers, boy, I don't blame this on the defense. We literally were one play away and one throw away of winning that game. If we're going to be honest with you. Tre'von Moehrig was all over Parkinson's ass. Like I said, you would have had to stick your tongue up. I mean, Tre'von Moehrig was so far up his ass. If he would have stuck his tongue in the dude's ass, he would have figured out what he had for lunch. I mean, it was a good big time throw by Parkinson's. It was a big time throw and catch by Stafford and Parkinson. It's plain and simple. Plain and simple. And I'm going to talk about Bryce Young. We're going to talk about it. But guess what, man? I know it's over, but I'm excited. You know why I'm excited, chat? Even though I know it's over, and we're going to dive into this game and recap it. But you know why I'm excited? Because I get to bring you draft content. That's what I'm excited about. I don't know about you, but I've got film. I got players that I'm like chopping at the bit for some of this draft content. I don't know about y'all, but if you're new here, I do probably one of the best draft content for the Carolina Panthers. I don't mean to toot my own horn. Own horn. But I do a pretty good draft content. Marcos Cash can tell you right now. We got good draft content because I got film on all. I literally have film on every college player in the college football realm. Not kidding you. Not kidding you. And guess what? Your boy might be going to the Senior Bowl this year. And guess who's going to be making content at the Senior Bowl? This guy. This guy right here. It's probably going to be, I'm probably going to go to the Senior Bowl. By the way, I got my credentials, chat. I got my credentials to go to the Senior Bowl this year. So we might be going to the Senior Bowl. I haven't confirmed it yet with the misses. I have not confirmed it yet with the misses. But we might be going. Chat. Not going to lie to you. Hold on, chat. I'm trying to get some stuff here. I'm posting up the live stream right now because I wanted to get it done immediately. Because like I said, I'm not going live tomorrow. I'm watching football all day tomorrow. I'm watching football all day tomorrow. I'm relaxing. I'm chilling. I'm watching football all day tomorrow. All right. Let's pull this game up. All right, there we go. All right, so we got people coming in. All right, perfect. All right, man. God, man. Just it sucks. It does. I mean, here's the thing. We learned the hard way in a brutal way to lose this playoff game. Okay, we did. But I will say this. The Panthers didn't win their playoff game. I know. This part is obvious. The Los Angeles Rams walked out of this stadium alive, and the Carolina season in heartbreak. But here's the thing that matters the most: the way here's the thing that matters the most is that the way more than the final score. Like the Panthers did not look like an 8-9 team playing out of its depth. I felt like we did. I felt like they looked like a team that belonged on that field. The trade blows with the Super Bowl contender. You lost because of fixable mistakes, not because the moment shallowed them to whole. And that matters a lot, right? I think that this game was messy. I think it was a very emotional, painful as hell. But it was also Carolina very clearly snapshot of where they are and where they still need work. Okay. Clay, you should look into Jake Goldell, linebacker out of Cincinnati. Hayden, what's up, man? Appreciate you coming through. Don't worry, we're going to be looking into everybody, Hayden, especially in the linebacker position. The linebacker position will be my number one key. Number 2 key will be an edge rusher. Number 3 key will be offensive line. Number 4 key will be tight end. That's the order I'm going to be looking at it. I don't know about you guys, but that's the way I'm going to be looking at it. That's just me. All right. That's just me. Anyways, let's continue this. Yes, I'm drinking on some brews, by the way. So shout out to everybody, anybody else drinking brews. I'm about to put this Bears game on. Whoa, where'd you go? Where's the Bears game? All right, there we go. I got it on. Turn it down real quick. Anyways, I think the one thing that really set the tone in this game was set a bad tone was because the Panthers didn't come out flat. Like they actually moved the ball early. They had a real opportunity to answer the Rams' first touchdown. Then it kind of fell apart on a play that looked disjointed from the snap. Jalen Coker didn't fully run out his route. All right, that play alone, Jalen Coker did not fully run out his route. All right, I can't wait. When we might even break some game film down on this game. Maybe that's what we'll do on Monday. We'll break it down. He didn't fully run his route. I'm sorry. You can say what you want. He didn't. You can say what you want. He didn't. You can blatantly see that he didn't. All right. And I think Bryce threw the ball assuming he would. So instead, it turned into an interception that flipped that momentum instantly. And I think if Coker keeps running, or if Young anticipates the route stopping, that drive likely ends up in a very different manner. I think it ends up with 3 points or a touchdown. It ends up with points either way. The way that drive was going, that ends up in points. Instead, it became the first reminder that playoff football punishes every small breakdowns, and That mistake didn't lose the game, but by itself, but it made everything harder from that point forward. I will say this: there was a lot of self-inflicted mistakes that kept piling up. Right? I think, week 13 against the Rams, we played pretty clean. Like this game was anything but beyond, anything but that. But I think beyond the interception, Carolina hurt itself in multitude of ways that they could have avoided. I think Chuba Hubbard dropped a check down that had at least 20 yards open field in front of him. Trevor Etienne muffed a punt with no pressure anywhere near him. Luckily enough, no points come away from that, but still, it's the fact of the matter, right? And because you don't know if Trevor Etienne muffs that punt, that offense goes down the field and scores if he doesn't muff the punt, right? Those are the kinds of mistakes that don't always jump off the stat sheet, right? But it absolutely can kill you in these types of games, especially playoff territory. I think each one handed the Rams short fields or stalled momentum when Carolina desperately needed that rhythm. I think against the team that as experienced as the Rams are, you don't get many free passes, right? And I think we burned ourselves too many of times of that, right? Of them, really. All right. My opinion, I think we should possibly go after a play caller. What's your opinion? I would love to get an OC in here. I would love to get another OC. I think that Dave Canales, I think Dave Canales needs an OC. I think he needs a guy he can rely on. I don't think he can rely on Brad Eason. I think that's a huge issue, Hayden. I really do. I think he needs to get a play caller in here. I think he needs a good OC in here with him. I think it would benefit him a lot. Do I think he needs to go out and get a Clint Kubiak? No, right? Because you're not going to get a Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak's going to be a head coach. But I think you need to get someone that you know and that you can rely on to make the right play calling for you while he manages the game. See, that's the thing. Think about it this way. Why was Dabo Swinney so good at Clemson for so many years? Because that motherfucker can recruit. That's why. Dabo Swinney is very good at recruiting, okay? But what did Dabo have around him? Great play callers. That's why they won, and great players. So he was able to win those national championships like that. Simmons has a good game. I think you got to bring Simmons back. I think there's something there with Simmons. Simmons, when he did play, made plays. He made plays in this game. He had a huge tackle, a block punt. Simmons is a guy that you might want to think about keeping here, maybe on a one-year deal. I think you go ahead and extend Jalen Coker. Venables, exactly. Exactly, Hayden. You see where I'm getting at with this now. See, that's the reason why the Detroit was so good. Detroit was so good because Campbell is not Campbell is not the best play caller. He has some control of it when Ben Johnson was there, but Ben Johnson was the genius behind all those offensive play calls. Aaron Glenn, I know that's not the best of what you've seen, right? I know it's not the best what you've seen at the Jets, but that Lions defense and that secondary very collapsed, in my opinion, when Aaron Glenn left. And you could see that from this year. So that's why I bring up the point that about Dabo. It's the same thing in the NFL. A lot of these head coaches are very good at culture building and being player coaches. See, if you're a player coach, right? Player coaches are able to build the culture, rebuild it, get it to where it needs to be, but they have to have great play callers around them. That is where I think Dave Canales is. I think Dave Canales is like a Dabo Swinney. Great play caller, or not great play caller, but great players coach, can get guys in the locker room, can keep that culture in the locker room, but he needs guys around him to be able to be successful to make the right play calls while he manages the game. Does that make sense? That's the way I look at Dave Canales. And you can clip that. I truly believe that. It's like the same thing with like look at Seattle. Mike McDonald is a great DC, but he's got Clint Kubiak to lean on for the offensive play calling. He knows that Clint Kubiak is going to call the right plays. Same thing with like Todd Monken with the Ravens. You knew he was going to call the right plays. I felt like Greg Roman was a better play caller, but Todd Monken's a great play caller. Joe Brady is a great example of having a good offensive play calling. Look what Joe Brady has done. I think it's also the same thing. I think you'll see something like this year with the Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to hire a guy like Flores, and Flores is going to bring in a guy like Brian Daboll. Watch this. I'm telling you this right now. This is my prediction. I think that the Las Vegas Raiders are going to hire Brian Flores as their next head coach, and Flores is going to bring in Brian Daboll. You know how I know that? It's because Daboll, Flores, and Brady are all boys. And it all checks out. I'm just telling you. Watch what happens. I know ball. I would not be surprised if the Raiders bring in Brian Flores and Brian Flores brings in Brian Daboll. It's the same thing with what McDermott did with, like I said, with Brady. He brought in Joe Brady because he needed a good OC. And we underestimated Joe Brady here in Carolina. Look what he's done. I think Daboll's done a better job than Brady, but Brady's still a hell of a play caller. And I think Brady will end up getting a head coaching job. I really do believe Joe Brady will get a head coaching job. Listen, we can talk about the OC position all day long. I mean, we can bring in listen, I've looked at Mike McDaniel. The problem I have with Mike McDaniel is he is a very creative run play caller. He is not a very creative pass play caller. That is my issue. And if you don't have speed on the outside, Mike McDaniel is not going to be a good OC to bring here to Carolina. You need a guy that can be creative both ways with the roster that we have. The only reason why I make Mike McDaniel was so good is because he was able to use that speed to his advantage in Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I know a lot of people are saying, well, go look at Mike McDaniel. I'm not sure I trust Mike McDaniel. I really don't. I think he's a creative play caller when it comes to the run game, but I'm not passing game. There's not a fan. He'll try to get the ball out quick for Bryce, which I think is a plus. Maybe he'll bring that high tempo offense to help Bryce out. Maybe. I just don't know. I think he's more of a creative run play caller than he is passing. That's just me. I've just seen a lot of people say Mike McDaniel, but I'm not a fan of it. He wouldn't come to Charlotte anyways, so he wouldn't come to Charlotte anyways. Another thing in this game though, chat, that bothered me was Nick Scott was a mismatch that the Rams attacked relentlessly. If you was it just me that noticed it? Because Sean McVay, here's the thing about Sean McVay. Sean McVay is an elite coach who finds weaknesses and hammering them until defenses break. And today, Nick Scott in coverage was the pressure point. Like the Rams repeatedly got receivers into space against Scott. And it didn't go well. There were multiple coverage lapses and late reactions that led directly to chunk plays and scoring opportunities. And so this wasn't about effort for me. It was about the matchups I just really noticed. And I think McVay won that class match more than that chess match than once. I think McVay a couple times outcoached Ejiro Evero for sure on the defensive side of things. You know what I mean? So Shout out to everybody in the chat. I appreciate everyone joining the live show. Do me a favor, smash that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Make sure you click that post notifications bell so you don't miss out on any new content. It was a good year, though, man. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. It sucks, though. It definitely sucks. All right, let's move on. Look at them Packers winning this game, man. Look at them Packers winning this game. Damn. Oh, my God. That's a touchdown. Oh, my God. The Packers are beating the brakes. They are beating the brakes off the Bears right now. Wow. All right, anyways, let's move on. Pass protection in this game, I'll say this, was a problem all day. The Rams defensive front is good. But we had some protection issues that went beyond that. I think Bryce Young struggled to keep I think the for offensive line struggled to keep Bryce Young clean throughout the game. Things got worse after Robert Hunt and Ike Kwanu both exited in the first half, right? And from that point on, Young was consistently forced to speed up his timing and move off his platform, really kind of try to create his own. Run blocking was more effective. But pass protection never stabilized. And while Young handled it admirably, the kind of pressure caps what an offense can do, especially the playoffs. I felt like our special teams were a roller coaster until they flipped the game, because this was supposed to be an edge for us, I felt like, in this game. But again, our special teams was a mess early, right? Multiple miscues gave the Rams favorable possessions. Los Angeles didn't commit the same kind of errors, they've been known for all season, at least until the fourth quarter, and that changed everything. Carolina blocked a punt, completely swinging that momentum, and I felt like reignited the stadium. It wasn't luck either. I felt like the Panthers had been close to getting home early in that game. That single play kept Carolina alive, reminded everyone how thin the margin was. Fourth down decisions finally backfired. I felt like the aggressiveness has been a strength for this team, but it didn't work at all this time, because early on a failed fourth down attempt set the Rams up for 45 yards to go for a touchdown. Later, another try just past midfield was shut down again. I know this defense bailed the offense out once with an interception, but overall, these weren't Carolina's best fourth down moments. I felt like in a game this tight, those close calls loom large, right? But let's move on to Bryce Young, man. Let's talk about Bryce, right? Let's talk about Bryce in this game. Right there, you see it, top of the screen right there. 21 of 40, 264, averaging 6.6 yards per carry. Had a rating of a 71.2. See if there's anything else now. All right, that's all I needed. 71.2. 2 sacks, 14. All right. This wasn't supposed to happen like this. 18 months ago, Bryce Young looked completely lost, if we're being honest with you. He was benched. He was written off. I was one of them that wrote him off. I'd never labeled him too small. I did label him too overwhelmed. I labeled him too broken to be the guy. Carolina trade the farm for. I did label him that. I worded it out at least one time or at least twice. But I always believed in the talent in Bryce. Okay. I always believed the talent was there. I just felt like it wasn't showing, if that makes sense. So that's why I was the way I was with him. You fast forward to now. Bryce Young was leading the Carolina Panthers into their first playoff game since 2017 at home under the lights with the season on the line. Sure, we slid into the postseason in a weird fashion. Sure, nobody outside the Carolinas expected this to be close at all. Okay, nobody expected this to be close. But once the ball was kicked off at Baker Stadium, none of that shit mattered, chat. None of that shit mattered. None of it. Hold on, chat. Fucker. Thank you. Apparently, I can just tell AI when. All right, there we go. You know what I mean? This was Bryce Young's night to answer the biggest question I had surrounding his career. Can he handle this? That was the biggest question I had for him. All right. Can he handle this? Bryce Young ultimately lost in a heartbreaking fashion, but Young didn't shrink. If anything, he showed exactly what I started believing in him. Believe it or not. Flaws and all. Here's the thing. Bryce Young survived the most absolutely chaos in the pocket. It came clear that here's the thing. It came clear that almost immediately that Bryce Young was going to have to earn every damn yard. That defensive front was coming after that ball, collapsing the pocket. They were forcing Bryce Young to move consistently, and then things got worse. Ike Ekwonu exited in that first half. Robert Hunt, again, making his most return did return the second half. Goes out the first half. From that point on, the protection was basically a suggestion. Bryce Young was hit, hurried, flushed, forced off his spot all night. He rarely had time to set his feet, yet somehow he kept it together. This is where his underrated traits show up. That pocket awareness, his mobility, the toughness, the mental resilience I saw. He took shots. And got up every fucking damn time. He kept firing against one of the most aggressive athletic fronts in the football. He didn't panic. That alone matters, ladies and gentlemen. And the thing that I love the most about the kid in this game, he showed so much resilience and was played aggressive because he had to. This wasn't Bryce Young sitting back and hoping this game came to him. He went after it. When the Rams winning up front, Bryce Young had no choice but to be decisive and aggressive. He controlled. He took control at the line. He trusted his reads. He attacked windows instead of checking everything down out of fear. His mindset is non-negotiable for him going forward. Young is still inconsistent. Yes, that hasn't magically disappeared. But what has changed is how his teammates respond to him. There is belief there now. His teammates believe in him. They follow him. And once Dave Canales finally got him into that rhythm, that offense took a dangerous look. I mean, they looked dangerous. They took a dangerous turn, but they looked dangerous. Like the Rams seemed confused at times, but Young's willingness to keep pushing despite that pressure, that aggression, is exactly how he clawed his way back from that benching, and it's how he stays the guy in Carolina. Now, another thing is he pushed that ball down the field. He pushed his ball down the field. One of the biggest knocks I've had on Bryce Young has always been his ability or unwillingness to consistently stretch the field. And against the Rams, that changed, partly out of necessity, but Young was forced to air it out more than usual, and he delivered. Tre'von McMillan, Jalen Coker, they are capable of winning vertically. Bryce Young trusted them and let it rip. The results, big air yards per attempt of this season, excellent timing, touch on deep throws, strong velocity, swirling wind condition. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't intentional. That's the difference, okay? This wasn't chuck and pray football. This was Bryce Young picking his spots, trusting that leverage, giving his receiver the chances, which is exactly how Carolina briefly took the lead late. Now, when the game got tight, Bryce Young was ice cold. This is where Bryce Young continues to separate himself. Late in the fourth quarter, after Isaiah Simmons blocked a punt, Young stepped right into that moment and like he'd been there before, play action strike to Tre'von McMillan, calm movement in the pocket, beautiful throw to Jalen Coker for the go-ahead touchdown. That throw was all touch. It was all timing. It was all confidence wrapped into one. That is the type of play your franchise can build around. Dave Canales has talked all season about Young's demeanor. It's his the ability to move and to move on and reset and stay calm no matter what happens. That showed up in the biggest moment of his career. I think Bryce Young in this game, chat, did everything he could. I think Bryce Young did everything he could and still lost. The Rams answered with a touchdown of their own because that's what their good teams do. Right? Bryce Young got the ball back with a chance to at least force overtime. Then came the gut punch on a critical fourth down opportunity. Jimmy Horn Jr. dropped a pass that would have moved the chains. Young made the right read, delivered the ball, gave his guy a shot, and it just didn't work out, man. That's playoff football. It's brutal. It's unforgiving. It's cruel as hell. Young walked off the field having done everything reasonable possible to win the game. He didn't fold. He didn't melt down. He didn't disappear. The bottom line is Bryce Young didn't win the game, but he answered in the moment. Against a Super Bowl caliber team, behind a broken offensive line, under a playoff pressure, he played with toughness and aggression and poise, and there are still things to clean up. And there's always going to be, right? But this game wasn't an indictment, right? Like, it was confirmation, in my opinion. I felt like Carolina didn't lose because Bryce Young couldn't handle the stage. They lost because playoff margins are just razor thin. And sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. And that's a hell of a lot better place to be than where this franchise was a year ago. You know what I mean? Like, let's go look down at Jalen Coker. Jalen Coker, ladies and gentlemen, right across there. 9 receptions on 12 targets. He had a 52-yard long, 134 yards, 1 touchdown. Outside of that early communication, Jalen Coker was unbelievable. His consistency to be able to create separation, punish coverage after the catch, and delivered the best performance of his professional career for a former undrafted free agent on a playoff stage. It was a breakout in every sense. And the Rams had no answer for him. And that is a massive development for Carolina moving forward because now you have this tandem. I think Tommy Tremble also, I'm going to give Tommy Tremble the credit's due. He has been consistent, man. He has been consistent. He is getting the ball in his hands, at least consistently a game. You know what I mean? Oh, I want to show y'all this real quick. NFC South Division winners, first playoff appearance since 2017. Career high in passing yards, completion percentage, and touchdowns for Bryce Young. Young and the Panthers are moving in the right direction. Not wrong. I also want to show you this too. Bryce Young, season recap. If you include, this is including, I'm assuming this is including his playoffs. 30, or I guess total yards. Okay, so that's his. I'm assuming this is playoff stats and his rushing yard stats. Season recap: over 3,500 yards, 27 touchdowns, and 12 interceptions. PFF says they're excited for year 4 for Bryce Young. They're excited for year 4. So shout out to Jalen Coker. Last but not least, I'm gonna finish with the defense. I mean, this defense had 6 quarterback hits. They had 8 passes deflected. They had 2 tackles for a loss and only 1 sack, which sucks. But I will say this. Mike Jackson was the best player on the field today. Mike Jackson was the best player on the field today. Mike Jack was outstanding. He made life miserable for Matthew Stafford again and broke up key passes and somehow managed to limit Devontae Adams, which almost no one has done all season. Jackson has been excellent all year, but this was the best game of his career against elite competition under playoff pressure. That's the kind of performance that changes how a player is viewed league-wide. Mike Jack was by far the best player on the field for the Carolina Panthers today. All right. But here's the thing, chat. I'm going to say this. We might have lost this game, okay? We might have lost this game. But they changed the way people see them. See, the Carolina Panthers are done for the year. I get that. That part sucks. 1-score playoff loss will always feel brutal, especially when it comes down to a single field goal and a handful of moments that could have flipped everything, okay? But here's the uncomfortable truth for anyone who spent last week clowning this team. The Panthers did not look like the Panthers didn't look like they didn't belong. They looked like a playoff team that ran out of time. That matters, even if nobody wants to hear it. Everyone said that Carolina was a joke. They weren't. Let's be honest about the lead up to this game. They were 8-9. They not negative 69-point differential, a division title that came through tiebreakers and chaos. The national narrative wasn't a subtitle. See, Carolina was treated like a charity case. They were treated like the worst playoff team ever. A Make-A-Wish entry that existed slowly to get smoked by the Rams. Hell, plenty of people didn't even think they cover that 10.5-point spread, let alone compete. Instead, they lost by 3 fucking points. They were in the entire damn way. That doesn't magically turn into a trophy, but it absolutely destroys the idea that they had no business being there. It absolutely destroys that whole idea that they had no business being there. People believe that we didn't belong to be there, but sorry. See, the Rams survived. They didn't dominate this game. At first, it looked like they were going to, but see, they forgot who we were. See, Los Angeles gets to move. That's history. All right. But anyone who actually knows the Rams didn't cruise, they survived, and it was barely. This was supposed to be a comfortable tune-up for a Super Bowl contender, and instead they spent 4 quarters dealing with a Panthers team that refused to roll over and play dead. See, Matthew Stafford looked rattled. His hand was fucked up. The Rams offense sputtered. The defense had no consistency answers. If this wasn't supposed to be a mismatch, nobody told Carolina. See, Bryce Young in this offense showed the hell up. All right. The biggest shock of the day wasn't the score. It was how we got there. See, this offense was supposed to be the weak link. Instead, it was the reason this game stayed alive. Yes, that run game is still inconsistent as hell. That hasn't magically fixed shit, but it didn't matter as much because Bryce Young took control. See, Young, Jalen Cook were borderline unguardable. Tedero McMillan consistently moved the chains, and the Rams defense looked confused and stressed and uncomfortable this whole time. Twice in the fourth quarter, the Panthers took the lead in a playoff game against a Super Bowl favorite. That does not happen by accident. I'm tired of these fucking people talking shit. If you think that it's just that fucking easy, why isn't your team in it? See, a lot of these people want to come on this channel and talk shit about the Panthers when their team isn't even in the fucking playoffs. They didn't wait for garbage time to show life. They went out there and fucking played damn football. The moment wasn't too big. This is the part that flips the entire conversation. Carol, we didn't flinch. They didn't melt down under pressure. They didn't look scared. They didn't look like a team overwhelmed by the stage. They fought. They adjusted. They punches back. That matters for a franchise that has spent years looking lost or broken or irrelevant in big moments. I'm not a guy who's all about the moral victories, but God damn it, this is one. This is one that you have to take because it's not a moral victory, though. That's the thing. It's a real shift. Let's be clear. Losing still fucking sucks. But there is no parade routes for almost. All right. The Panthers are rightfully pissed that they didn't finish it. But unless the Rams go on and win the Super Bowl, their role in this postseason will likely fade into the background, and Carolina's won't. Right. This was the night the Panthers remind everyone, including themselves, that they're not just a punchline anymore. They're not a fluke. They're not a team that needs apologies for showing up. They earned every right to be here. They played like it. They made a hell of a lot of people rethink that this franchise actually is moving forward. Sometimes the season ends in pain, but still changes everything. That's what the problem. That's what everything is about. All right. That's what everything is about. I know that this season ended, but this proves that this team still belongs. And it proves that this thing is turning in the right direction and that Carolina Panthers won this division outright. They won it because they were the better team in the division. Again, this is the night that reminded everyone that this is not a fluke-ass team. The Bucks, they got beat by the fucking Rams 34-7. I get it was at the Rams, but you still lost. We beat the Rams the first time, and then we lost to them in a nail biter the second. We were literally one catch away from beating them. If Parsons doesn't make that catch, we win this football game. Plain and simple. The Falcons, they were a better team on paper, but they were shittier at a coaching staff and at the quarterback position. The Saints, they got a great up and coming. They had our number. All right, I get it. They had our number, though. Kellen Moore outcoached Ejiro Evero. And Bryce Young, for some reason, against the Saints, just can't get the job done. I don't know what it is. But you got to give this team credit, man. Because the national media counted this team out and said that they weren't going to win this game, which they didn't, but they said we were going to get blown out. That's the issue. And guess what? Did we get blown out? Fuck no, we didn't. Bryce Young is from Alabama. No, he played college in Alabama. He's from California. What the fuck are we talking about? He played in Alabama. He's from California. He played at University. He played at Alabama University or University of Alabama, whatever you want to call it. But anyways, at the end of the day, the Panthers lost. That part sucks, but they did not look overwhelmed. They didn't look lucky to be there. They didn't shrink under the lights. That they lost because of communication errors, some protection issues, a handful of mistakes, not because the Rams were untouchable, like the national media likes to make. That's the difference between a fluke playoff appearance and a foundation of something real. Again, this one hurts like hell, but it's also confirmed that Carolina is closer than anyone expected, and a lot closer than their record suggested. And we are heading in the right direction, and we're coming. And that's all I got to fucking say. Guys, I appreciate everyone joining the live stream. I've been live since 3:30, 3:45. It's already 9:40. I've been live for 6 hours. So I would appreciate if you hit that thumbs button on your way out. We're going to go ahead Monday. Let's start the draft content, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to break it down. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. Y'all keep pounding. I will still be here live every single day of the week. And we got off-season content. So drafts, free agents, that's all we're going to be looking at. We're going to be looking at contracts, cap space, a lot of stuff we're going to be breaking down this offseason leading up, obviously, to the draft. Don't forget, your boy is going to the Senior Bowl this year, so you're going to get some of that content. I'm planning on going. I got my credentials, so I'll be able to go to the Senior Bowl this year, so I appreciate everyone. Join the live stream. I will see you guys on Monday. Y'all keep pounding. I'm out. Peace.